Ladies and gentlemen, this is the main event. Fight fans worldwide, you've tuned into the number one undisputed boxing podcast today. This is the Boxing Breakdown.
Who would some of those trainers get?
Well, I met the late great Mr. Leslie Knows the guy with the soul. He was a tremendous fighter in the 40s, but he had, like yourself, he called it the tattoo and back then that's the death sentence to the career. But he had beat Bob Montgomery in 2 rounds in a non-title bout here in Philadelphia when he was the reigning lightweight champion of the world.
Fight fans, join host Mark Roxy and special guests as they break down all aspects of the boxing world, including news, business, management, training, promotions, fan reactions, upcoming events, matchups, future boxing stars, title fights, state of the boxing world, and all the stuff you don't see when you watch boxing. This podcast is released each week on Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Live streamed on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook Live. It's the Boxing Breakdown, hosted by Mark Roxy.
What's up, what's up, what's up? Welcome to another edition of the Boxing Breakdown. And I am your host, Mark Roxy, and I am here with my partner in crime, Mr. Harold Hunt. What's up, what's up, what's up?
What's up, man? How you doing?
How am I doing? That's a loaded question, man. How am I doing? Are you kidding? Like, well, I know you know how I'm doing, kind of, but for those of you that are listening in today, first of all, welcome to another episode of the Boxing Breakdown. Thank you for being with us, and I am super excited to be with you because, Harold, we have been through hell in a handbasket is the best way to say it, because we... for those of you that aren't familiar with what went down on the East Coast a couple of weeks back, roughly 3 weeks ago, we were affected by Hurricane Ida, and man, our whole region over here was literally destroyed. So Harold, I've been pretty busy, man, because one of my businesses was pretty much destroyed, completely destroyed, underwater, 8 foot of water. Lost everything, and in my home, I had a pretty bad situation here as well with flooding and some things here that we had to handle in our house. So it's been an absolutely devastating couple of weeks, and I just am I've been away from the Boxing Breakdown. I haven't. We haven't done a broadcast in 3 weeks, and the reason is, folks out there, because we have been in a bad way, So I'm excited to be here today, and it's really, really great to be with you, Harold. It's a pleasure, as always, and thank you for all your well wishes and all of your support over those, and your patience, really, because... boxing continues on, man. And like I always say, for me, I take it personally, knock down 9, get up 10, man. And that's what I've done. And we remain, in action and trying to just make things happen. So, man, gosh, there's so much news, Harold. There's so much going on in boxing. I mean, just this week alone, some of the hot things on the wire, like, Caleb Plant, he's got that big gash over his eye. For those of you that didn't see that, that press conference, Canelo Alvarez slugs him and puts a gash over his eye, and then under the eye. Pardon me, under the eye. Yeah, man. And Caleb Plant, decides to punch him back, and I guess he kind of clipped his jaw a little bit or whatever. But it was a ruffle scuffle, man, and. Those two exchanged words and fists, and there's all kinds of rumors going around about why that happened, how it happened, but and all the guys, everybody out there in the boxing community has been reacting to it. It's just amazing. And another thing, Harold, I wanted to share about news, as far as news is concerned. 10 years ago, exactly 10 years ago today. Floyd Mayweather, if you remember, KO'd Victor Ortiz with that ultimate. I mean, some people called it a sucker punch. I mean, I'm looking at one writer that actually called it a sucker punch, but in fact, it wasn't a sucker punch. It was a legal punch. But 10 years to the day when that actually went down, and so yeah, man. So what you been up to, Harold? Talk to me.
Well, there's so much going on with all the boxing, but I got some insight on the Canelo thing since that's not necessarily on our agenda this evening, but I'll just touch it right quick, okay?
Yeah.
So he got a cut under his eye, but it wasn't from a punch. He had like this $2,000 set of eyeglass of sunglasses on. Okay?
Right.
And when Canelo kind of touched him in that area, the part of the sunglass that was on his face cut his face.
Oh, snap.
Not a punch, not a nothing. It was the actual sunglasses that scraped underneath the eye. Now, as far as boxing is concerned, there's going to be a fight because it's under the eye. So even if it starts bleeding in the fight, it's not going to affect anything. So it's sensationalized right now, but it's under the eye, and there will still be a fight because those guys want to get paid.
What the heck, man? Like, those guys can't control their hands? What are they on, steroids or something? They're dealing with, like, aggression? What's going on with that, Harold?
Well, now Canelo has been using new English words he's been using lately. You know, he's speaking English now. He's cursing and all this, right? And MF is one of his better words. You know, he learned English. So Plant used the same word. Now, we use the word, people use the word all the time in different connotations, of course, but we never really refer to your mother. Never. That's just a word that is used to, disparage.
Those are fighting words, bro. You talk about my mama, that's a problem. We got a problem, right?
Yes, but when you call somebody MF, you're not really saying anything about your mom. You're calling that person that. Okay, now Canelo has used it in several instances against Andre.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
and you hear it all the time. There's no mothers ever involved. However, Canelo took it completely different because he chose to. He knows what it is to be applied for.
Right.
But he wanted to have a little dust up with Plant, so he said he was talking about my mother. But we all know that wasn't it. He just wanted to have a little something, which is fine, theatrically beautiful. Fine.
Right.
So that's what happened. So going forward, Plant is, in fact, has a cut. No problem. There will be a fight.
Right. Well, hey, man. I mean, I just, it's a shame that they can't keep their hands off of each other, and now one of them has a little bit of a liability under his eye, right? So, I mean, what you say. I mean, I know the inspectors and the doctors check hands. They check everything right before a bout to make sure you don't have any open wounds or anything. So
yes.
I can't imagine, they're not a little nervous about it or worried about now what he's got,
You talking about the under the eye situation?
Yeah, of course I'm talking about under the eye situation.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't really think that they're going to postpone that because it's on the eye. If it was over the eye mark, yes, then it was a concern. But under the eye, it could bleed all day in the fight. It's not going to bother his eyesight.
Right. All right. Well, that's a good sign. I mean, that's a good deal.
As far as good can go, considering the situation, right?
Yeah, exactly. As far yeah, man. I mean, I don't know what to say about that. But, yeah, did you hear about Manny Pacquiao?
Yes, he said, I'm in the running. I'm running for the presidency.
Yeah, he officially launched his presidency for the 2022 presidential bid in the Philippines. And apparently, breaking news is that Manny Pacquiao has announced his retirement. So, from boxing.
I have yet to see that. He can announce all day, which is fine, and it may happen. The boxing, we have to see if that itch, because he can do whatever he wants. Now, the president who he's trying to replace, that is a battle right there, because they're two different people as far as how they want to run the country.
Right.
So he's got quite a battle there, uphill battle there to even beat that guy,
right?
Even with his popularity. But if he was to fight sometime during that, who knows how that could sway the vote?
I don't think that's a good idea, man. But whatever. I mean, we've done the previous episode. If you're listening in, everybody that's listening in, Boxing Breakdown fans, check out the previous episode of the Manny Pacquiao saga, man. We covered the whole thing about all of it. So if you want,
yes, we did.
We did, right? We did.
Don't want to digress, but it's still good stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah, it
What's
is
next,
good.
Mark? What you got?
Yeah, so I wanna talk to you a little bit about. And to the listeners, a little bit about the Sean Porter, man, against Terrence Crawford, big showdown. It's going down. What you got? Talk to me about that.
Oh, man. Well, let's start on Crawford's side, okay? Now, Crawford finally has the signature bout that he's been looking for. Right. He's causing the two people across the street from each other to shake hands, and he gets a chance to show what he can do against someone who has a great resume. The only one that has a better resume is Pacquiao. So he's fought everybody but Pacquiao, Porter has. So for him, it's an opportunity to really get up for a fight. It gives him a chance to really take the opportunity to hone his marketing skills, because they're doing press conferences, and he's going to have to talk. He's going to have to be verbal. I'm hoping he's sitting with his publicist. I'm hoping they're working up some outlines for him to talk about during these press conferences, because he needs to up that part of his game. And this is his golden opportunity, because the whole world's going to be watching that. Now, we know Porter can do that. They may even ask Porter to kind of tone it down to kind of keep him in tow so it'll be congruent, so it'll work properly. Because if Porter just goes to the skill set he has as a commentator and a speaker, he's gonna crush Terrence. So in an effort to make the promotion of viable and people be interested, he may have to kind of not tone down, but stay in a lane where Crawford can navigate, and they can have good press conferences that capture people's imagination about the fight. But that's just on that marketing side. Now, if you want to start talking about the skill in the ring, let me go back to Porter.
Yeah, talk to me. Tell me about what you think about Porter.
Okay, now, as you know about Porter, he's coming. He's going to be coming all the time. You have to. The fights he's lost were only split decisions, right? He was knocked down by Adrian Bronner, and that was simply he just lost concentration. It was just a flash knockdown. The thing with Earl, he got in the pocket and got hit, and he survived that easily. So you're really going to have to unload something on him. So it's going to be great to see Crawford bull in the china closet type thing. But the problem is that china closet can hit, man. That bull's going to come in there and he's going to get hit. He's just not going to run a rough shot. He's going to win on points. He'll come run in there. He's going to get hit with something that can really slow you down. So that's going to be a good fight. But as far as Crawford's concerned, he gets a chance to switch hit back and forth. But Porter's used to that. Now, Porter's only situation is, Mark, he tends to square up sometimes. When he's attacking, he's squaring up. And you cannot square up against Crawford, because he can come from either side of the street, and Crawford never squares up. Yeah. And that's just a preliminary estimation on the fight styles. So that's how I see it. Now, I'm sure you have an opinion that's beautiful also. So let me hear it.
Yeah, so Harold, I mean, my opinion and listeners, I believe this is going to be a really, really exciting fight. One for the ages, one for this generation of boxing fans. For all of us that have followed Sean Porter and Terrence Crawford has really needed a big fight. He's needed a fight like this to really come back and really put himself out there, for the fans to see, and for him really to elevate to where we know where he is technically, but, as far as his activity, that's another story, So he really needs to get out there. Sean Porter is a game fighter. Sean Porter will fight anybody. Anybody in the 147-pound division, we did a podcast several months ago about Sean Porter. And if you remember what I said in that podcast, I said, you guys can go back and listen to it, but I said that out of everyone in the 147-pound division, the welterweight division, that Sean Porter was really like the guy, the belle of the ball. He's the guy that has always, from the get-go, from the beginning of his career, he's always stepped up. He's always had challenging fights. He's always been the underdog. He's always, fought in the most television-friendly style, but he's also come up very, very successful. Even when he loses fights, he comes out on top. So this is a guy that knows how to be in there. He knows how to win. He's got an incredible coach in his father, and they've proven that their team is unstoppable. So, I would say this, that do I think Terrence Crawford is highly skilled? Yes. Do I think he has the reach? Yes. If you look at the tail of the tape, you know that Terrence Crawford comes in as the bigger guy, the taller guy, the longer guy, and the guy that technically is the matador, right? So he's facing a bull. So that fight is going to lean toward Terrence Crawford anyway. Sean knows that. Sean knows that this is a close fight. He understood, and he understands that going into this fight means that this thing could go any way. If Sean Porter has a bad night, and he's even said it, if I have a bad night, it's going to be a bad night for me. Terrence Crawford doesn't have bad nights so far. I haven't seen him have a bad night. So, for all intent and purposes, I believe that Terrence Crawford has a very, very good chance of coming out with a victory in what would be a really entertaining battle. I don't think it's going to be an easy fight, but I definitely can see how the fight has been laid out and what side of the railroad tracks you're on, if you're on the A side, B side. I can see how this is all being put together. But what I am going to say to the boxing fans out there is that you cannot count out Sean Porter. Sean Porter can deliver things that very few in the 147-pound division can deliver, and so I'm just going to kind of leave it at that. I'm going to say that would I like to see Sean Porter come out with a victory? Yes, I would. If you need to know, I'm sure no one really cares about my opinion, but yeah, I would like to see Sean Porter come away with the victory. I admire him greatly. I think he's a supreme athlete, a great spokesperson for the sport. And so, yeah, that's where I stand, Harold. Hopefully I didn't ramble too long, man.
No, not at all. Porter has to be stopped. The two times he's been down with left hooks. So we know Crawford has a left hook, and we know he's going to be looking to land that if you look at any tape on, Porter's weaknesses, if you will. It's just that if from a judge standpoint, that fight is going to be tough to judge because Porter is always going to be coming forward. He's not going to try to box him or nothing. He has to get underneath those arms in that pocket and fight. And that is what's going to be great to see, and it's just going to be a tough score because I don't necessarily see him knocking Porter out. I don't see that. And right. I have seen Bud touched up a couple times. He got touched up a couple times in his last fight. No, not with Brooke, but the one prior to Brooke. He got touched up a couple times.
Yeah, I can't even say that guy's name. It's like Ed Guduludas Kavalakas or something like that. Yeah, I remember that.
Shout out to him. We apologize for the pronunciation of his name.
Yeah,
but
apologize.
He did touch up Bud a couple times very clean. It was he punched through Bud's head. and he didn't affect him, but he was hit cleanly 3, 4, 5 times. So he can't be hit. Now, it reminds me of a Lomachenko and a Lopez fight, where if someone gets behind early, they could lose. If Crawford doesn't come on early and gives away 3 or 4 rounds, it could be 8. Sean could get it. He could get it. If he gives away 4 rounds, he could get it. He could lose. So he has to be on point, because Sean's going to be it's going to be on the prowl immediately.
Right. No, I understand that. That's an interesting, that's an interesting foreshadowing. I think if one thing I want to point out to you, Harold, and everyone, that if you remember the fight with Sean Porter when he fought Sebastian Formella, remember that was his last fight, I believe.
Yes.
Sean Porter's last fight. And I saw some things in that fight that, caused me to think that there's some other skills that Sean Porter has been working on, and that you may actually see slightly different game plan in this fight other than what you just mentioned, which is, coming forward the whole time, pressuring the whole time. I think that fight that he had with Sebastian Formella was kind of like, I think he went 12 rounds. I can't recall fully, but I know he went a long time. He had a lot of rounds to work on what he was working on. And I remember the interview after that where Sean Porter may have commented on the fact that he really wanted the rounds because he really wanted to work on some things. He hadn't fought in a year. He hadn't fought since September 28th, 2019. So there was kind of a whole year layoff, like a full year. And in that fight that he had in 2019, of September of 2019, was against Errol Spence. So it was the Errol Spence fight. He took some time off, and then he fought Sebastian Formella. And what I saw was some of the errors that he made when he fought Errol Spence were actually corrected in the next fight. So I don't know if you recall that fight or if you remember that, but there was a little bit more boxing going on. He was really working the outside, and I was really impressed with his overall way of approaching that fight, and it made me think that there's something going on here. And so I'm just gonna say that Sean Porter has got a lot of facets, and he's got a lot of tools in his toolbox, and this can be a really, really challenging fight for Terence Crawford. It's not going to be as easy as people think it's going to be for him, although for all intent and purposes he should win this fight, right? But I don't think it's going to be an easy fight.
As I referenced the fight, the Formella fight, and remember what happened. Fortunately, Sean was never threatened by any kind of power. Right. So he could box and move and work on some things, and without threat of getting dropped or getting hurt or really losing the round.
Right.
So yes, he had carte blanche to work on that kind of stuff. You can't work on that kind of stuff with Bud. You simply can't do that unless he's mastered it to the point where he's comfortable and he's not going to be vulnerable. Because in that fight, that was just a glorified sparring session, and to me, in a sense, because yes, he did show all the boxing. He was moving around nicely. He was touching that boy a lot,
right?
In that style. I just don't see him incorporating that against a Bud Crawford who's going to be switching back and forth and who can box. Right. Now he may, he may go to it if he gets hurt for a little while, but his bread and butter, he's got to come for him. He's got to bully this guy. I don't see him, just me, I don't see him using the boxing for anything other than maybe a retreat, just to kind of gather himself to get out of the way, instead of using it as an offensive weapon to win rounds.
Right.
I don't see him outboxing him and with that style. I mean, it was good. It was well placed, but he was against an opponent who wasn't going to give him any problem with that style.
Right. Well, man, we're going to see soon enough. We are going to see soon enough. It's just a matter of time before that fight plays itself out. And I'm sure we'll come back and do another one, a deeper breakdown into the style matchups and the technique specifically that will be used as we learn more about their particular style and what they're doing in training camp. So as we look at who they're bringing in for sparring partners, we're going to have a better idea of what's going to happen, because when you know who they're bringing in for sparring, that gives you a good idea.
Yes. Everyone who has a style like either one of those guys, they're sitting by the phone. Call me. Call me.
Yeah,
I'll
right.
give you some good work.
Yeah, man. So Harold, listen, I want to switch gears a little. If you're willing to take a ride with me here on the next topic, and
all right.
For y'all listening out, I want to switch topics, and I want to get into the Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury saga, and just maybe catch our fans up a little bit on what's been going on with that, Harold. So, talk to me, brother.
Well, first let's start with Mr. Wilder there. All this footage out there, he's looking all good. He's moving his head. He got the foot movement. He's throwing that left hook. He's back and forth. Good legs. All that is good. But guess what? Denzel Washington is an actor. An actor can be one role, one fight. I mean, one movie and another role the other, because he can act. He knows how to be a cop one time, a gangster another time, a serial killer next time, because it's an act. He knows what to do. Right now, in my opinion, we are seeing an act. Give this man an Emmy, because he's looking good, but it's not against anyone who's going to hit him. Yes, it looks great. We haven't seen any sparring footage.
Are you talking to me about Kool-Aid?
Sparring. Well, we're not going to see sparring footage. So we're not going to see him actually incorporating this with somebody who's trying to hit him back. Right now, all we're seeing is nothing but movement and the broomstick and this and that.
Right.
Show me some sparring where he's actually incorporating this and he got some fire coming back at him.
Right, real fire.
To me, it's a big act.
Okay.
Now, if he gets in the ring and he actually does that, and he's being hit at the same time, and he's incorporating that is a beautiful thing. But right now, I can't see anything other than, the facade that's being portrayed to us. Right. Now, it will be kind of tempered if, in fact, I see some sparring, and he's using this in his sparring. But they're not going to show sparring. So we don't know anything.
Right. Well, what we do... Okay, this is what we do know, guys out there. Harold, Boxing Breakdown, fans, this is what we know, brother. Deontay Wilder will square off against Tyson Fury, and that fight is going to take place. It's the Fury versus Wilder #3, Saturday, October 9th, at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, and the tickets are available. You can get them online. I think there's a bunch of places that are selling them now, but AXS.com, I think, is selling those tickets. So shout out. Y'all can send us our our sponsorship endorsement there later. You can the check's in the mail, Harold. Don't worry about it. We're going to get a check for that one. But yeah, man, like Deontay Wilder has come out and he said, that he's basically going to put his foot up Tyson Fury's, what. And so we're gonna see how that goes down. The former WBC heavyweight champion Wilder, who is 42-1-1 with 41 KOs, really wants to get revenge against Tyson Fury, who is 30-0 with one 1 draw, 21 KOs. 21 of those wins have come by way of KO. And he wants to really get his revenge from about a year ago where he felt he was beaten. He was beaten due to the British fighters bending of the rules, and you guys know the rest. If you're not sure of all the details, you can jump online and you can listen to our podcast that we did. How remember when we did that podcast on Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury, and all the stuff with our my good friend Mark Breland and all the nonsense about that. There is a podcast out there. Go check that one out at The Boxing Breakdown. You can find us on Instagram. You can go to Apple Podcast and you can download all the previous episodes. Subscribe here on YouTube. This is a relatively new platform for us, but we are smashing it, Harold. We are just living our best life here on YouTube. Thank you, YouTube. And but don't forget to download the audio podcast if you're driving around and listen to it on Apple Podcasts, because it really is. What better thing than to have Mr. Harold Hunt and myself driving around with you talking boxing, man? That's what's up. So, this time Wilder, he's going to take his anger on Fury and he's going to knock him out quickly. That's what this is all about, right?
Yes.
So he's very angry, man.
Yeah, he's angry. Now, if you go back to some of his other fights, and he's knocking people out, but he's tentative with that right hand. A lot of times he needs to be dropping it early in his fight. He knocks everybody out, and he has.
Right.
But there's been times in these other fights where he does win, knocks them out, but he's tentative with that right hand. He's just waiting when he really needs to be throwing it, a little earlier than he's throwing it. He is dropping it, and they're going out, and he's knocking these guys out, but he's tentative with it. Okay, and this is with someone who can't really, truly box. Okay, now he'll be in a situation where Tyson is just going to step to him, just like he did in the second fight.
Right. He's
going to step to him. The second Wilder takes that backward step in retreat, it's over. It's over for me, because he's just going to resort to the same situation. Now, if Tyson takes that forward step to be aggressive, and Wilder continues to try to press coming forward, also, we're going to have a firefight for maybe 3 rounds, because someone's going to get dropped. But
a couple of times.
I don't know if Tyson. I don't know if Wilder is going to stick to that discipline. I just don't know. I just don't know.
They're saying, Harold, that he could take a completely different approach in the fight. He's working with Malik Scott. Malik Scott, by the way, for those of you that don't know, Malik Scott has been in Wilder's camp for a very, very long time. He is not new to the camp. There's been some people on these podcasts and stuff that have said, not on our podcast, but other podcasts, that have said that, he's new to the camp, his new trainer, only thing that he's getting a bigger payday and he's elevated to the head trainer, but he's been involved in the camps forever. So he really knows how these camps go. He understands what Wilder's strengths and weaknesses are, and I think as a head trainer, he's in a better position to really create things that are lacking in Wilder's favor, and really he's had the advantage of watching Deontay Wilder develop and looking at the deficit, the things that haven't been developed. And if you're not familiar, if you're not the head trainer and you're just part of the team, and you're just in charge of defense, or you're in charge of offense, or maybe you have specific job descriptions for that particular camp, you oftentimes don't get full run of what's going on. It depends on how things are run, but it's really important to know that now he is running the camp, and for all intent and purposes, again, he does look different. I mean, Deontay Wilder does look different. He has been in the ring. He does have a lot of knockouts. He does have power in that right hand, and if the right hand touches you, you will be vaporized. There's no question about that. The question becomes as to what are the techniques that he's going to use in this fight. And to be honest, for me, Harold, Tyson Fury has a solid, meticulous, I mean, it doesn't always look meticulous, but he has meticulous defense. Okay? Now, that's not to say that he doesn't make mistakes, but he has an absolutely fabulous defense. And, you know, that coupled with his intelligence, his ring intelligence, when you know, I'm a little concerned that Deontay Wilder is so angry that he just wants to beat his asparagus, you know, because that is not a good way to go into a fight with that kind of an attitude. It just maybe it's going to work, but you know, there's no absolute here. There's no one way to do this, right? But I have a personal feeling that that may be a little bit of a mistake to go in uncomposed, allowing your emotions to drive what you're about to do, and to face a guy who's technically a master at defense. He doesn't fight like a heavyweight when it comes to his defense. So that's, you know, something to really think about, guys, when you're out there, you know, analyzing this fight and placing your bets and figuring out what you're going to do. You know, I mean, I don't know.
Well, the blueprint is there. We've seen it. If you, as you said, come in with a vendetta, you're angry, what have you, you're not going to be clear-headed. And if he's forced to go on the back foot, he's just going to resort to what he knows out of anger and out of comfort and go to the power.
Right.
But if he tries to go to the power off the back foot, he's going to be totally ineffective.
Yeah.
Like you said, Tyson has great defense, but his defense is coupled with the offense. It's offensive defensive type of thing where he's safe if he's being offensive. He's safe because he's throwing the punches. He's filling the gap. He's filling the pocket, you know, with his offense, which is stopping him from getting hit, you know, offensively from another person, from Wilder. So when he's in that pocket, he's safe. As long as he's being offensive, he's safe. As long as he's on the front foot, he's safe. Right. When he did get knocked down that one time is because he was out of the pocket and he was at arm's length. The second fight, he stayed under that arm on his the whole time and had him on the back foot. I mean, it's so black and white to me. Well, not that I'm some kind of savant, but please, from what I see, it's not going to be any different. It's just not going to be any different.
Well,
I just don't see any difference.
Let's talk about some other factors that maybe you may not be thinking about, Harold. Let's bring them up. Let's bubble them up to surface. Let's talk about the possibility that exists with, you know, the referee, you know, with the judges, and what are we going to do about these illegal blows that have been purported to be the reason, well, allegedly the reason that Fury won the fight was some of those rabbit punches. And then, of course, there's this whole business about the gloves. So do you think, you know, I mean, that's all that other pomp and circumstance surrounding the fight that includes, you know, the use of you know, alleged use of tampered with gloves or rabbit punches, or, you know, what do you think that plays as far as playing a factor in the fight? How do you think that's going to play itself out?
Well, I would think that the hand wrapping this time is going to be an act of Congress. You're going to see everybody in there taping video. You're going to see it's really going to be scrutinized to the point where it's going to be maybe 10, 15 hands. You probably got everybody in the world signing off on his wraps and his gloves. I'm not worried about that. Now, as far as the rabbit punch is concerned, yes, the referee is going to be very clear on that. Anything that's even remotely close to that, he's going to say something about that, even if he has to stop the action. So that is definitely going to be something that's going to be drummed into both of them about the back of the head things. The glove things and the hand wraps, that's going to be scrutinized to the point ad nauseum. So I'm not even thinking there's anything going to happen with that. So, that being the case, there's a factor that I think we need to talk about, and that is the trainers. Now, we know Sugar Hill is deep. He's Picasso. He's Michelangelo. He's set at the feet of the master. I like Scott, but he's never done this before. Now, say we're in the fight, and each fighter is listening to their corners on how to be successful in the fight, and they're following directions. Which trainer do you think will have the better solution for a situation? Scott is fine, but I don't think his understanding, his application to Wilder is going to be anything like Sugar Hill has been. As you know, Tyson dropped his entire crew when he barely beat Wallen. He went out and got a whole new crew and changed this whole situation as far as how he fought, because he takes direction. If I have a choice between Sugar Hill and Scott, just because of the track record and the background and what have you, I would think that he would have a little better opportunity. I mean, a little better understanding on how to apply to handle any kind of situation. Kind of like Belichick. Most coaches can't out coach him. They may have the better team, the better personnel, the better scheme, but they get out coached because he knows how to do what he has to do, even if he may have the inferior team on that day. And that's how I see this, right? So to me, that's a huge factor.
Right. No, I get that. And certainly if you compare trainers, I mean, you really can't compare trainers. And quite honestly, being a trainer myself, like, I don't know that that's a fair assessment of either one of the trainers, because, really? The trainers aren't fighting, and, we've got some pretty heated temperaments here on both sides, and two individuals that get in there, and as they've proven that they both march to their orders and not necessarily the orders of the chief second. So, I mean, am I right? I mean, just go back and look at what happened in the last fight. And you would, I think you could see how I would make that argument, but I think that there's going to be a lot here that, gets to play itself out around the fight, including Deontay Wilder's legs. Has Fury been, training properly? Is he, ace one, ready to go? Is he taking the fight super serious? Because I know Wilder is. And yeah, I mean, Wilder, the thing that blows my mind, and it was in one breath, people say that Wilder can't fight. And I get the argument from purists that look at his style. Like, if you're a trainer, you go, oh my God, he's doing everything wrong. What is he doing? Like, why is he doing that? Why is he not using this? What? I get it. I get that. But if you look at his record, just look at his record and look at how many people he's knocked out. And so whatever he's doing, he's getting it done, Harold. I mean, he's getting it done. And
absolutely.
I mean, you cannot, this fight is not as simple as people think. Again, like I said about the Sean Porter fight, this fight, Deontay Wilder can level you with one shot. He can vaporize you with that one right hand. But his hook, he has a great hook. He doesn't use the hook, but he has an outstanding hook, right? So, and also to Fury's point, like Fury he's a Fury. He's a beast there. When he gets on you, he's coming.
Yeah.
And he does hit behind the head. And he'll do anything to win the fight. He will destroy you in there to win the fight. And so that's where, the referee becomes very, very important in this fight, because the referee is either going to take a point for those rabbit punches, or the referee's just going to turn a blind eye to it, and we're going to have, more controversy in this fight. So the referee is key to this bout and how the bout plays itself out. And of course the commission and the hand wraps and all the inspectors that are involved pre-fight. I think as far as the judging is concerned, the judging is going to play an important part in this fight as well. How you see power, one punch power versus combination punching, defensive, moving, slipping and sliding, rolling punches. Like, what are the judges actually going to be scoring in this fight?
Well, as a professional judge myself, and I've done some stuff. I've done a few fights right prior to a fight before Wilder's fights a couple times, and I was able to see him come right in and fight right away. And my fellow judges judge, and we would talk about it later about the Tyson, the Fury, the Wilder fight, and what they were saying was, if you're really confident and you know your craft, you understand when the power is dropped, that can win you the round, even though you may be losing as far as getting hit in the scoring area by your opponent. But when that power comes through and you're a seasoned judge, you know how to elevate that above that kind of thing. So I'm sure that all the judges, who I don't know who they're going to choose, but they all understand that discipline. So I don't see a problem with that. I don't see any judges who are going to be intimidated and just go strictly by punches landing in the scoring area. They're going to look at the power and everything else. So that's not even a concern of mine. What is a concern of mine for the judges is that the referee could be stopping the action so many times because of a possible rabbit punch or that type of thing,
Right?
Or the low blows and all that, and that can kind of break the rhythm when you're trying to judge. So that's the only concern, and I'm sure whoever they choose can handle all that. But as far as not acknowledging the power, where Deontay could be losing the whole round and he drops two right hands that really wobble or really change, Fury's advancement, Wilder gets that round, even though he looks like he lost the prior 2 minutes because he was hitting him in the scoring area. So, hey, the judges are going to be astute on that. It's just that I see a possibility of so much stoppage because they're going to be the mandate: don't hit him low, don't hit him in the back of the head. We're going to have to break him early. All of that kind of stuff. So I'm just hoping that whoever they choose as a referee knows how to stay out of the way and apply those things subtly and not, make them so demonstrative that they just slow down the action of the fight.
Well, it's going to be a barn burner, man. That's going to be, Deontay Wilder's like, don't blink, man. This is going to be a quick fight. So he's got some idea of how he's going to approach the fight. I'm sure they're formulating that now, and we've got a lot to look forward to in that fight, man. And I think it's going down. They're not going to postpone it. It's happening, right? So, man, I'm pumped up about that. I cannot wait. October 9th at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, bro. Get your tickets, or do your whatever the pay-per-view is. They haven't really announced that. Maybe they have, but I don't know where the pay-per-view is, but it's going to be shown somewhere.
And the undercard is nice, too.
Yeah? Talk to me.
Undercard is really nice.
Talk to me.
I can't recall, but when I read, I was impressed from top to bottom. Jarvin Ennis is fighting.
Oh, he is?
Yes, he's fighting? Opening. Ennis.
Yeah, Boots.
Yes.
Wow. That's cool. Who's he fighting?
I'm sorry, not Boots. The other, the real big baby. That's
okay. I thought he was saying Boots was fighting. Well, you know
not
what?
Boots. The real big baby. His name escapes me, but he's got a great opponent. And then you've got a rematch of Ruiz and the Viking gentleman. I forget his name. And then you've got another great fight on the card. So it's worth the money. It is, because the first 3 fights before the main event, they are great fights. Wow. They are.
Really?
Yes.
Well, so, we'll have to come back to that and do a boxing breakdown of the undercard. We'll have to break down who's on the card, and but we'll do that in a later episode. We'll get back to you guys listening in. We promise we'll get back to you on who's on the undercard as they formulate the undercard and put it all together, and we get all the names there. Okay, so we will come back to that. But hey, we've got a little bit more time. We have about 10 more minutes here. And what I'd love to do, Harold, if it's okay with you, is I would love to talk a little bit about Anthony Joshua versus Usyk.
Yes. That is a good one, too.
Yeah, man. So listen, Harold. Anthony Joshua is 24-1, right? And he's putting his IBF, WBA, Super, and WBO heavyweight belts on the line against mandatory challenger Alexander. No, but not, you can't say Alexander. It's like Alexander Usyk, right? Yeah, Alexander Usyk, right? Man, he's like Drago in the Rocky
and the
movie,
IBO
right?
title and the IBO.
Yeah, the IBO heavyweight belt. It's all on the line, man. 18-0. Usyk is 18-0. It's at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, and Usyk has not fought for a heavyweight title before. He's never ever fought for a heavyweight title before. Did you know that Usyk actually fought Sean Porter at like roughly 160 pounds? Did you know that they fought?
No, that is great information.
When in the amateurs, they fought like at about 160 pounds. I was just reading up on that. And they had met before, but to know that he's stepping up, he's going to face Anthony Joshua. This is a serious fight, man. It's Saturday, September 25th, and I believe the beginning of the event or the coverage begins at 1 p.m. Eastern time, 10 a.m. Pacific time, and then the main event is approximately around 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time and 2 p.m. Pacific Time. And yeah, man, tell me, Harold, do you think that Anthony Joshua is in fact the number one heavyweight in the world? Do you think that? What do you think?
Well, we know he ran through people, just being really aggressive. He lost to Ruiz, and then he had to reinvent himself. And when he fought Ruiz the second time, he was more cautious. He wasn't just stomping, running through people. He had to box then. So as losses go, that kind of made him shore up his game and not just walk through people.
Right.
But he is so disciplined in his fundamentals that he's able to switch it off and switch it on because his fundamentals are pretty sound. So when you say, is he the best? I can't really say because he had to survive and win the fight with the rematch to get his titles back. So he was cautious with that. Now, after that, he had kind of a pretty a good fight where he was looking good. But as far as the best, I can't say he's the best because I just can't say it because he's shown he's been vulnerable. But I think in this fight, he has a little different obstacle. Now, I could go into some things about Usyk that may be interesting, to our listeners and viewers. And I'll wait till you lead on that. But I think there's some things that we need to look at, in the matchup.
Right. So check this out. So Anthony Joshua is the unified heavyweight champion of the world. He sits basically just one belt shy of becoming undisputed. His record stands at 24-1 with 22 KOs. That's pretty impressive. But some people out there don't give him the credit. They're really kind of they don't really consider him like the guy, right? So now with Alexander Usyk stepping up into his division, AJ has an opportunity to really show that he is the guy, that he is talented, and that he has real boxing skills against the likes of someone like Alexander Usyk. Usyk is tremendous. He's a great fighter.
True. first of all, Usyk has never lost. He
Right.
doesn't know what it is to lose. That
Right.
is a huge factor, Mark, and you know this. Also, Usyk is not a small man. He is bigger and taller than Muhammad Ali.
Right.
He's heavier, taller, and bigger than
He's
Ali
thick,
was.
man. He's thick. He's starting to get these big
He's
shoulders and
6'3",
neck.
and he's not a small man.
Right.
Now Joshua, of course, is a lot larger, but
Yeah.
it's not like he's being dwarfed by Joshua. He's
Right.
not.
Right.
Now, if you want any kind of reference, you got to go back to Holyfield when he was fighting those big guys at that kind of weight class,
Right.
where because he was a lighter, he was more active, and he could hit you. So you have those elements possibly. Now,
Well,
Usyk
right there.
comes
You
from
just
the. Go ahead, please.
no. I was just gonna say, because you just mentioned Evander Holyfield. Evander Holyfield really is the only guy. He's really the only boxer in the 3-belt era to become undisputed in 2 weight classes. Something that Alexander Usyk has, he wants to try to achieve the exact same things, right? So,
Yes.
I mean, that you mentioned Evander Holyfield, but, I thought that was pretty interesting that you just brought him up.
So I see an opportunity for Usyk to move. Now, he is under the same type of tutelage as Lomachenko, as in the legs, the movement. He's in that same camp. He's
Right.
going to move. He's going to use those legs because he's been taught to use those legs. Now, fortunately, Joshua's got some legs too.
Right.
He can move too. He's not applauding, big old. He's not. He can move too. He has good legs too. So that's
Right.
going to be interesting. But Usyk will be moving, and he will be trying to counterpunch. And we're going to see. I just think Joshua is going to have to resort mostly to his boxing skill to win the fight. I don't think he's going to just walk right through him and do all that. He's going to have to kind of. It's going to be technical in some spots, because that's how Usyk knows he has to utilize to have a chance to win.
Well, both of these guys are gold medalists, right? They're both gold medalists, and they're both like on par, right? They're both solid fighters. They're both intelligent fighters. I definitely think that Usyk's unorthodox style and his intelligence is going to play a role in this fight. I think that he's coming in a little bit hot. He's coming in hot. So I'm not sure how Anthony Joshua is going to handle it. He's got a lot riding on this fight, so he better show up ready to go. He cannot have a bad night on this night. If Joshua comes to the arena and has a bad night this night, it's not. I think that's going to be a big problem, because he's facing a guy that he should not take for granted, right? This guy can knock him out. And, either one of them can knock either one of them out. But I'm just saying that Usyk's style is a little peculiar. It's not, and they both have lots of experience as gold medalists, in different weight classes, I believe. But they both have, that experience, and they're coming to the table at the top of the game. And, this is a great matchup by, put on by the zone. It really is a great matchup, and I'm excited to see this fight too, Harold.
Yes. If you want to put a quick little caveat, a feather in the mental cap for Usyk is that Joshua has been knocked out, and that in itself allows him the opportunity to think that maybe if he can apply that same pressure, that Joshua will react the same way.
Right. Well, let's remind ourselves that Joshua also is on a 12-fight run. He's on a 12-fight winning streak, right? So you got Dylan White, Charles Martin, Dominic Brazil, Eric Molina, Vladimir Klitschko, Carlos Takam, Joseph Parker, Alexander Povetkin, Andy Ruiz, Kubrat Pulyev, and now, right, so Alexander Usyk, right? So, this is a big deal, man. 12-fight win streak. That is 12-fight run of elite heavyweights at their time when he faced them. These guys were in their prime when he faced them. So he's not,
He took them all out. All out except for Ruiz.
Yeah, exactly. This guy has an amazing resume, and
he's well schooled.
Yeah, for sure. People really out there do not sell him short, man. For real, Yeah,
you got to go back to that fight, the second fight with Ruiz. Then you can see the pedigree come through. You can see the boxing. You can see that. Before he got heavy and strong, you can see that his bones were made in the fundamentals.
Yeah, I cannot. You know what, Harold? I can't wait to break this fight down. I can't wait to get deeper into it as we get a little closer. It's actually we probably. I would love to go live on this one. I would love to do a live broadcast of that fight if that's possible, because that's coming up on the 25th. So I would love to really chop this up live while it's happening. I mean, we obviously can't show the footage of the fight, but we certainly can break it down as it's occurring, and that could be really, really fun. So maybe we'll do that, Harold. Let's figure that, see if we can put that into the schedule.
Well, I'm working that night, some fights myself. And
where are you working?
In South Carolina.
Oh,
so I'm
man.
doing some fights there. So hopefully we'll be done, and I could get on the horn with you in the hotel room, and we can run this fight through.
I don't even think you're gonna be. No, I don't even think you're gonna be ready to go to the arena. Because I mean, what time do you have to show up at the arena? Because the main event happens at roughly 5:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So this is way before you're in the arena. You probably won't get to the arena till 6, right?
I've got to be at the meeting at 4:45.
Oh, you're gonna miss it, dude. You are not gonna be on a broadcast with me breaking down this amazing fight, because you're gonna be in the arena judging some amazing fights or whatever you're doing.
Yeah. But we'll see how it works out. But yes, if it's feasible, I will do it. I really will do that, and I'll probably get somewhere early enough to get on. Well, we can talk about it off air, but that's a great possibility.
Yeah.
But Mark, you have another subject I know that you want to talk about.
I do, but I do want to give a little shout out to my boy Manny Rivera from Hard Hitting Promotions, who has a fight coming up at the Showboat Hotel and Casino this coming weekend, and I have the distinct honor of getting down there. I'm going to do some ringside commentating with them and just kind of hopefully chop up the fights alongside Mark Abrams if I can make it down there. And but if you hear this podcast and you can get to Atlantic City, I was at the last event. The last fights were absolutely outstanding. Great fights. Every fight was amazing. And I'm sure that, Hard Hitting and Manny Rivera put on an amazing, amazing show. That team is awesome. And I have the distinct privilege of working with them. And so I hope that you will get down there to check out the fight. It's a Saturday night at the Showboat Hotel and Casino in Atlantic City. You can go to Hard Hitting Promotions. You can find them on Facebook or Instagram or hardhittingpromotions.com, and you can get your tickets to that event. You'll love it. I know you will. He puts on an amazing show, Harold.
Yes, he does.
Yeah, bro. He really does. So I did wanna chop up I wanted to ask you, this has been on my mind, Harold. I wanted to ask you, number one, if you got a chance to see the Evander Holyfield matchup that fight that recently took place. And then I really wanted to, how can I say this? The fight was against Victor Belfort. And it was, you know, I really don't even know how to describe it. Maybe you can describe it, but I want to ask you about that fight. And then I want to get into a conversation really briefly because we don't have a lot of time. We've already blew out an hour on the podcast. This is 2 trips back and forth wherever you're going. But I did want to talk to you a little bit about exhibitions versus, pro bouts and what your thoughts were about that. So let's chop it up, man. Did you see the fight?
Yes. I saw it. It was kind of difficult to watch because Evander Holyfield is from Atlanta. I'm in Atlanta, and I've seen him many times when he was coming up in his reign here. I would see him at the club. I'd see him dancing. I'd be on the floor with I saw him. He just was a part of the fabric here. So when I saw him in that fight, it wasn't something I wanted to see. Now, it was an exhibition, and his opponent didn't take it as an exhibition. Now, when Tyson and Roy Jones fought, they said, this is an exhibition. We're not going to try to hurt each other. We're just going to fight and give a good show. This guy, he wanted to put Evander on his belt. He wanted to. He fought him. He tried to take him out, and for that, I wasn't really happy with that because it was an exhibition. It was 2-minute rounds. Now in California, it was going to be an exhibition, and it was an exhibition. Now, unfortunately, it didn't look good or what have you. Professional fights, as you know, the commission is going to go out and make sure you still have a skill set,
right,
before they're sanctioning it. If you don't have a skill set, they will downgrade it to an exhibition where, 2-minute rounds, and certain size gloves and this type of thing, because you want to protect, you still want to have that revenue stream, for the fans, but you want to protect the fighter. So the situation is sometimes it can be promoted as a regular fight, but it really wasn't. It really isn't. The David Haye fight was a real fight. That was a exhibition. But from what I was reading or what have you, it looked like it was sanctioned as a regular fight, but it was an actual exhibition. So some of the public may have not known that it was an exhibition. They thought it was a regular fight. So that kind of thing was kind of vague to me. But things go on, and they are what they are. I just didn't like the fact that the gentleman tried to really, take Evander out, and that was, it was an exhibition. The exhibition is the entertainment, not to get a notch on your belt.
Right. No. I mean, you're absolutely correct. It was a complicated thing for the fans as well because they weren't sure what they were getting, I mean, Holyfield, actually, Holyfield looked pretty good. I mean, he weighed in at roughly about 225. It was supposed to be an 8-round fight, right? And the opponent, Victor Belfort, I think is like 44 years old. He's a former UFC champion, for those of you that don't know. And the fight took place at the Seminole Hard Rock Cafe in Florida, Harold. I know you have some things to say about that, about Florida and boxing. But, it's sad to see a champion like Holyfield on his backside, in an exhibition. That was definitely not enjoyable, not at all.
But there's such a positive point to it. Evander Holyfield is a fixture in our boxing community. He has been.
Oh, yeah.
He may have been kind of wasteful with his money in a sense, and he needed a opportunity to kind of shore himself up for the rest of his life.
Right.
And he was able to do that with this fight.
Wow.
I believe he made between $6 and $7 million.
Good for him.
If you in fact have the proper people around you, that money can handle the rest of your life and and your siblings. So I was glad that he got the opportunity to get that kind of payday this late in his career, where he can actually do something to the point where he can live as he should comfortably. So to me, that was a wonderful thing. And he didn't take that. He didn't take any beating to a point. It made optically it didn't look great, but hey, it happened. So he's in the clear. He's healthy, and I don't know if he'll get an opportunity to fight again. I don't know if any commission is going to allow that
I
just
hope
because
not.
of the way he looked. You know,
Yeah.
I'm not disparaging anyone, but if I'm a commission, I'm going to be kind of wary because I don't want that icon to have an issue in my state.
Right, right. So technically, it was an exhibition. It was not a professional bout.
Yes, it was exhibition. Absolutely,
Are you
100%. It was
100% sure
exhibition.
about that?
It wasn't a sanctioned fight.
Okay, okay. So,
Unless you know differently, from what I've been understanding and researching, it was exhibition.
yeah, okay.
Now the De
Well,
La Hoya fight in California, that was a full fight because Andy Foster's people sent someone to Oscar's camp to be sure that he had the skill set so they can make it a regular fight, a sanctioned fight. If
right,
he showed something that he couldn't do that, then they was going to downgrade to exhibition.
right.
But the other ones, the David Hay fight and the Holyfield fight, those were not sanctioned bouts. They were exhibitions.
Right. Well, there seems to be this underpinning, this undercurrent about exhibitions versus pro bouts for aging fighters, particularly fighters that we have come to glorify, fighters that we have held up onto the highest pedestal for their incredible accomplishments and contribution to the sport of boxing. For example, Mike Tyson, Evander Holyfield, Sugar Ray Leonard, Floyd Mayweather. I mean, it goes on and on, all the amazing fighters, even Ali, all of these fight, not even Ali, but even beyond Ali, before Muhammad Ali, great fighters have always done exhibitions. They've always done them. The exhibition is not a new thing for those of you listening out there. If you've been in the sport for many years, like every fighter that's achieved, the highest level in the sport goes back out and does exhibitions as they age. And it's just a natural part of the fighters staying relevant, making money, and living off of their names and their achievements early on. And I think it's perfectly fine. I don't think there's a problem with going out there, getting in the ring, having some fun, and doing an exhibition against another guy, and enjoying yourself and bringing pleasure to the fans. But when you cross the line, and I guess what I'm trying to say is there's a line, right? Where is it that you cross the line? Because you can cross the line. And where, Harold, do you believe the line gets crossed?
Well, between exhibitions and bouts, the line gets crossed with the public perception. If the public perception is clear what it is, then they expect it to be exhibition or bouts. But people were betting on the Floyd and what's his name fight, thinking it was a regular fight. It was exhibition the whole way. And they refused to see it that way. A lot of fans, they didn't see it that way. Right. It's exhibition. When Tyson and Roy did their thing, people just did not want to accept it was exhibition. So the public has to embrace it, or has to be portrayed to them that what it is. So I think that's where the line is reached. Is stepped over. Also, the combatants have to understand. Now, Ali did do exhibitions during his career while he was still fighting actively. He did an exhibition here and there during his reign. While he was still champion. Right. So, as you said, exhibitions are a part of the fabric of a fighter. You can do it after your post career, and it's Ali did it. In the middle of his career, from time to time. I think he did it twice, maybe.
Oh yeah, for sure. And but I guess. There's been a lot of talk about exhibitions, real fights, YouTube fighters, people, celebrity fighters, this and that. I guess, what I just really wanted to bring up is that there is a point where, these fighters that are out there they've dedicated their entire lives to boxing, and they are not able to make the kind of living that they should be making as being the supreme athletes that they are. And then you have YouTubers, or you have, uh, fighters who have long retired coming out making the kind of numbers you're talking about. And I'm just wondering where is there an issue that we should be talking about that relates to, these kinds of fights being made and taking the limelight against current professional fighters who are trying to climb the ranks to be world champions? And do you think it affects the sport in a negative way, I guess?
Well, the public likes fairy tales. The public likes the past. Retro, back in the day. I remember where I was when Tyson fought. I remember where I was then.
Right.
Right. 20 years later. Oh, he's fighting again? Their fondest memories are attached to those fights 20 years ago.
Well, even mine.
And they're going to go, and they're going to, the promoters see this, and the public likes the old school type of thing. And if those guys even halfway resembles what they did in the past, people are going to go and see that and going to buy that fight. So it's not like you're taking away from the other fighters. It's just that the public's saying, hey, I'm interested in watching my childhood hero 20 years later fight again, and I'm going to pay. That's the thing that's going on. To me, it kind of throws back to back in the day. There was a lot of TV coverage, free TV for these fighters.
Yeah. Yes.
The fighters now who are suffering in a sense and not making that money, when they were coming up, they were not on television. They didn't have that platform to go back to 20 years later. So therefore, you're going to have this void in the middle where these fighters who are current, who need that limelight, who need the opportunities, they were not paid attention to during their upbringing through the sport.
Right.
Whereas these other gentlemen who are older, who were prominent back then, you remember their fights from day one to the end. So therefore, you have a body of work to say, I want to see them again. Where these newer guys who are better, younger, whatever, they didn't have 10 years of on TV just coming up. The public may have not even known who they were until they were 17, 18 and old. And then, they kind of got thrust out there because they had to, but we didn't see them fight number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We didn't see them crash their first Ferrari when they were 10 and 0. We didn't see all that kind of stuff. We missed all of that because they weren't covered like that.
Right.
And that's why, to me, Adrian Brawner is the first one who has an opportunity to be in the public consciousness, because his entire career was on television. He's one of the first ones to have his entire career on the modern guys to have his entire career on television. Right. Because he was an undisputed champion at one of the other weight classes. He was undefeated. He was, but people knew who he was.
Yeah, I think his best weight class was what, 135 or 130?
Yes.
Was it 130?
He's in the record books as the youngest. I mean, he 10, 15 years from now, when they look at the record books, he's prominently going to be in the record books, no doubt.
Yeah.
But his entire career was in the public's eye. I know young girls who don't even know boxing, they know who he is. That's because the same way I was influenced by Sugar Ray Leonard and all those guys coming up and seeing them on television, these people are influenced by Broner.
Right. Yeah, and I always longed for him to go back to that division, to go back to the 130-pound division and 135-pound division, wherever he was successful earlier on in his career, because he just did such a good job there, And
but
he was
about that career.
Yeah.
Was the fighters now that are prominent, who are really good, we don't know about their first 10 fights.
Right.
We just don't know because there was no television. There was no free television.
Right.
And we need to know about their first 10 fights. So that's why they're going back looking for Tyson and everybody else, because they remember their entire body of work.
I don't have to tell you about Mike Tyson because you already know how you bring up Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson, shout out. Love you, brother. Like, Mike Tyson is the man. Like, Mike Tyson he's in a whole other category for me. You already know that. Don't get me started on Mike Tyson. All right, but what I will tell you is that I'm really bummed because if there was ever a match that I would pay to see as an exhibition, it would be Evander Holyfield and Mike Tyson. Just one more time. You know, Roy Jones, I when we were at the Hall of Fame, I was telling you that story about Roy Jones saying why me? Why do you want to fight me? Next time I fight you, I'm going to bring my hot sauce bottle and pour it, So if you try to bite my ear, I'm going to put some hot sauce on that thing. But, I just would love to see those two get back in the ring and mess around and be silly and, that just those two because they were so iconic for me.
Yes.
As a young man and even as a young athlete, like I always looked up to those two and really enjoyed the bouts that they had and the competition and the ferocity of the competition that they represented and it was just an era that was just so spectacular. As crazy and as absurd as it was absolutely incredible. If you were around then to see those fights, it was something, man. So
it really was.
Yeah, Harold. Well, listen, I think we're just about out of time, brother, and I want to thank you so much. Is there anything you want to say to the listeners?
Hey, you guys, we've got a lot of pay-per-views coming up here, a lot of great fights coming up here. The boxing is like really doing really well. Be prepared to spend a lot of money on these pay-per-views because they're all worth it. It's going to be a grip, but it's going to they're worth it. I mean, we went through some things, and if you could possibly see them all, please do, because the undercards are great on all three of these cards, and it's a golden time for boxing right now. And with the crossing of the street with the Fury and Wilder and the Porter and Bud, all of that, and then with the WBA making these intern champions fight each other, you've got so many great fights upcoming.
Yeah, man, I agree, man. I will be tuning in. And if I'm not at ringside, I'll be tuning in. Otherwise, I'll be trying to get myself at ringside for all those fights. And Harold, man, without further ado, man, thank you so much for being with me. It's been really great to get back in the cockpit and be here in the seat with you and chopping up boxing, my true love, and outside of my wife, of course. But, it's been great. And I just thank you from the bottom of my heart for being here. And listeners, thank you so much for joining us on another edition of the Boxing Breakdown with peace and love. Until the next time, we will see you on the next episode of the Boxing Breakdown. Later.
See ya.
All right, Harold. Out, brother.
Fight fans, join host Mark Roxy and special guests as they break down all aspects of the boxing world, including news, business, management, training, promotions, fan reactions, upcoming events, matchups, future boxing stars, title fights, state of the boxing world, and all the stuff you don't see when you watch boxing. This podcast is released each week on Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Live streamed on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook Live. It's the Boxing Breakdown, hosted by Mark Roxy.